Hey y'all, it's Evan with Fifth Third Trading. Today is January 3rd. This is a watch list for January 4th, 5th, and 6th. I'm going to make two more tomorrow and Tuesday as well. But this will be really good for you guys for tomorrow especially. But these plays are going to be values for the next few days until they take off inevitably or consolidate out and still be a good deal. With that being said, you're probably thinking, hey, he looks a little bit different. And I know, I'm wearing my glasses today. I know it's a little weird looking. No, I dye my hair pretty often. I haven't done it in a while, but thought I had to go pink real quick, you know. Had to try and look like the most Green Day loving punk librarian of all time right now. So, what's up? With that being said, we focus our channel and skills to 9-to-5 traders who cannot do the day trading, cannot sit there and scalp. That's not possible for a lot of people, myself included. So I'm going to teach you how to do it and have stocks work for you. You not work for stocks. This is also great for beginners and intermediate people because if you do have your own system down, here's 13 free stocks you probably never heard of. The reason I focus mid caps, and this is a great time to explain this, is that do you think blue chip stocks or the stock of the month, you know, did that start off as always talked about? No. They don't. FCEL, I bought at $2. NIO bought at $10. CLNE I bought, 2 weeks ago. It's up 100%. I do not buy, blue chip stocks do not start off as blue chip stocks. There are some, like Airbnb and DoorDash, are not going to be the same IPO as a random therapeutics company or robotics company, right? Or Tesla 10 years ago, right? But with that being said, if you focus mid caps with good setups and strong fundamentals, they will eventually become blue chips or the flavor of the month possibly. And that's the whole point, right? We put ourselves in positions early to swing one big move up. We get in early before anyone else sees it because we have better technical analysis and research, and then we get in early and you ride it on up. That's the goal, right? With that being said, we have 13 stocks today. Let's dive into it. So again, I'm down here. Above me are the 13 stocks. This is going to be a 25 to 35 minute video, probably closer to 40 because I have 13 of them. So I encourage you, if you see this list above me, you can pause the video, go loads up, and you can leave right now. That's fine, right? I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. You can also go at the bottom. There's chapters I'm going to put down for every single one of these stocks above me. If ACCD here doesn't look like the one that you're going to like, you are welcome to skip it and move on, right? It's really up to you. Absolutely no big deal at all. So, with that being said, let's get into it. So, first one is ACCD. Technically, it's pretty sound. This is a support area. You could argue this was too, and that's kind of why I dipped and bounced here. And then they had a nice 10% sell-off, which is, a lot. So, it's probably exhausted red on the Vortex. We'll check that out. But this is a nice trend line up. I think it has a little bit more room to drop, if I'm being honest, because it's kind of a cheating line. To be honest, it should be closer to this, right? But again, I think there's too many supports in the way to stop that. It was a head and shoulders, right? Boom, shoulder, head, shoulder, and then it died. Now, when it broke here, that's kind of why it died, I think. But it's coming into this area where it has a lot of strong supports. I think this trend line, though, is relatively strong. I mean, it kind of mulled around for a minute. So we may see some of that over here, and that's okay. Right? So I think ACCD, if it doesn't live here, you should really watch list it because worst case is you just redraw this trend line to be a purely, straight, no crossing anything trend line. But that's easily, 15% more. You're not going to hold for 15%. So if it does live here, then it's showing life. I mean, it was red, green. That's really good. And, you could argue it's not really out of the downtrend until it breaks above 46.06 and holds. So, I mean, you're getting a little early. But again, I don't think it's a bad trade by any means. I think it's just a good one because of the trend line. It really makes me concerned. We have to cut through things. But this is a good setup. If you didn't know, this is called a cut and run bearish divergence, not divergence. Right here. So when it rides up like this and you have this huge peak, then it cuts down like that. This is the run. So you have to build up, run, sell off. So that pattern's all the way done. So hopefully this is a new one. Let's check the indicators. So the indicators look good. The EMA lines look average at best. So it respects the 50 for bounces. A lot of stocks do in the 180-day time frame. And it respects the 200. And again, some stocks treat them like, see how it's kind of like stone over here? How it was really hard to break it over here. But then over here, it's kind of like a trampoline. So it really just depends. A lot of stocks do treat trend lines like trampolines or like brick walls. Now, as we can see, it is oversold the first time in months. That's going to be up on people's scanners. I mean, it's low. It was like 24. Ooh. Stochastic can't get much lower. And again, there's no divergences. It's bottomed out. And the red vortex has gotten as high as it's ever really gotten. And the green is really low. So the indicators say there will be a reversal soon. It really has to break this 200 and then hold above it. So it's 4% away. So if you want to wait, you can. But I think this is a great setup. ACCD, worst case, you put on your watch list and you buy it later. So next is AOS. As we can see, it's had higher lows over the last about 7 months here, which is a great sign of strength. This trend line has been hit almost 4 times now. This doesn't really count, but I guess it could. About 4 times now to a pretty high success. And again, it just tapped in right above it. So, I mean, I think this may be a good reversal area. And again, you're not really technically talking uptrending until it breaks above this line. But with that being said, the reversal could come anytime between right here and, $51. Because it has higher lows. It could definitely take a while. But over here, you see it had, you would have said, oh, it has lower highs now. But technically, it's not having that until it breaks over here. So it's going up. This is part of the uptrend, downtrend, uptrend, downtrend still. I thought the downtrend was done over here or over here. I called it twice. But it's still technically downtrending. So I think over here, it's even a better deal. So you bought in, you're probably still holding. But again, if it goes long here, easily 6-7%. And I think eventually, because this is technically a ascending triangle formation, right over here, it's still technically ascending, and the whole thing could have been one. So I think it's a great technical setup. Let's check the indicators, and they look good. I mean, we called 200 EMA bounces. It said over here, oh, it's technically pretty sound, and now I did technically tap it, so that's really good. RSI was 35. Anything under 40 is technically oversold, so that's really good. The stochastic is bottoming out. It's curling back up finally. I think it's a really good, really good sign. No divergences. And the vortex is curling up. And again, I'd like to see it get a little bit, more of a high drop off. But again, it's a really good setup. Once it breaks the 50, we should see a really big move. So once it breaks, 55.41, which ironically is in line with the downtrend. If it breaks that, it'll probably retest it like it does over here. See how it broke it, retested it, and then took off again. Retested it, took off. Let's probably start riding that 50 EMA line once it breaks it. That's what we want to see. So AOS is a good setup, technically, and it's good for your watch list. So next is AQB. Over here we're watching it. I said this is a triangle forming, right? This is a triangle, this is the support. You gotta love it. And then, we bought right here. It went up. I sold right here because I was like, all right, I'll buy back in. And then I missed it because I was doing work. And that was a beautiful 65% play that we missed. And then, of course, if we would have held, because this was obviously a flag, a nice little flag here, it took off another 122%. So, womp womp. But over here, an obvious same triangle. I mean, it's beautiful, right? It goes up, comes down, goes up, comes down. Here's the issue, though. I don't consider anything a pattern until it's 3 times. Anyone can line 2 things up, right? That's just simple math. You can line any 2 things up that don't intersect. So 3 times makes it a pattern, in my opinion. So right here is a make or break for AQB for a big move. Now, like that one pattern, the lead up, cut, and run, if it does die here, it's really going to die. So you need to have a stop loss for this. But again, we're talking, a 3%, 4% risk here for it to run up even more. So I think that's going to be really good. And, this is a support area. Right below it is a support area. So I think this is going to be a good reversal. But if it lives here, you're talking easily 20%. So risking 4 or 5 or 20 is a great setup. This is definitely an ascending triangle. Let's check the indicators. So RSI is 41. That's cool. It's showing strength up here. I like that a lot. The stochastic is overdone, saying it, it's kind of coming down, and the vortex is curling back up. So it looks pretty good. The vortex was pretty low, and it showed some life here. So I think it's a good setup. The 50 EMA line, it just broke it, but again, it breaks it a little bit to come back. So it may see some consolidation for a minute, and then it may pop off. But again, a great technical setup. AQB, watch it for a huge bounce. Next is CTSO, CTSO Rembrandts Corp. That's a mouthful. So obviously it was downtrending, up, consolidate, down, and now it's kind of consolidating up, like a trickle up effect. Real quick, let me just turn that off. There you go. So as we can see, it's just going back and forth, up and down, up and down. And this is a nice channel. I mean, we're talking from top to bottom, 21%. So if you would have caught this, which hypothetical, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you would have made like 80% returns right now. And it's living again right here. This is critical. It's a really important area for it to be. Now, this trend line, and again, is it perfect? No, it definitely isn't. I mean, you could argue that it's technically ascending, but again, you can't connect, you can connect any 2 points together, and kind of as I do, you can easily make this a channel, 1, 2, 3 if it lives here, right? So that I keep that in mind. But again, it's shown, higher, low. That's lower technically, almost. Oh, that's higher than this, right? But then over here, that's lower than this, and this technically is about to be, if it drops any more, lower than that. So it's definitely not an ascending triangle yet. It's definitely a channel. It could just be a horizontal one too, right? You can easily just say across the board it's horizontal, and it just breaks it a little bit. So anywhere from here to $7.80 is a great deal. I mean, we're talking easily 17%. You're risking 2 or 3. I mean, it's a perfect setup. Even if it dies and doesn't live, maybe it drops down to 7.13. Maybe it'll drop down to 7.75, 7.55. You sell and rebuy in. But I mean, this is a great setup. I don't think it's gonna drop any farther than this area, and it's gonna pop back up. Let's check the indicators. So we can see it respects the 200 and the 50. It looks like it respects the 200, much more solidified and solid, but then also bounces off the 50. And right now it looks like it's trying to battle to get above it. And you get those big run-ups when it breaks the 52, right? So like it kind of hits the 50, dies, and then when it breaks it, retest, blow off, right? Takes it, retests these wicks, or retests, takes off. So that's going to be a really big move when it breaks both of these. And again, that's far away. And if you wanted to wait, you could wait for it to break, and then you can make possibly 7%, or you can buy in now and go long. It was just recently oversold. First time in this channel besides over here that it was oversold. Now again, you have this weird, looks like an options put right there, maybe like an options call right there. So I mean, I guess you can consider it oversold here still. It says the stochastic says it's overdone. That's a little bit odd, honestly. I guess it must be from this run up, and then this hasn't really kicked in yet. So I mean, that's not good. It's not terrible either. So that's fine. We'll see what it does. And then the vortex can't get too much lower. So it shows, and again, the vortex lines up really, really well. These greens bottoms run up really well with these bottoms over here, right? So I think that's a really good sign. So indicators look good. Besides stochastic and email lines are just going to be resistances. But CTSO moving forward, great price action, can be a really good move. Next is DIN. Just a great up channel move. I mean, it just goes up this channel, and there's patterns within here you could find. Like I said, this is that's definitely a bullish. Sorry, they've been over here. those line up. That's definitely those bullish run-ups, and then you can do short it over here and go real short. I don't short stocks. These orange lines, that's where I bought them at. I keep track of that, so I bought it right here, and it went up, 12% day trade. That was pretty neato. So this trend line goes farther to the left, but once, twice, and hopefully 3 times in recent memory. If it holds, that would be great. Now, it's broken the channel and gone to the bottom twice now. So we shouldn't be overly excited to get in just because we have, a green hammer that also then died. It's still technically downtrending until we see some real life out of it. But again, be on high alert. I mean, we're talking 3% extra if it really were to die on us. And if it does die on us, we're just going to sell and rebuy in. Because one could argue that the support area, given recent price history, is going to be between these 2 lines. And then this will be your new channel, is anywhere in this area. So we'll see what it does. But, I mean, it's been ascending, higher, big lows over a long period of time. So I'd buy in here, easily talking 25% if it runs up the way we want it to. Fairly quickly. I think that's definitely possible. And I mean, hopefully we get one of these moves over here. That'd be really cool if it just runs up, 89% again. It'd be great. So DIN's a great technical setup. Let's check the indicators. So it gets oversold, oversold, made some money, oversold, made some money, oversold, made some money. And here we are again. The stochastic gang can't get too much lower. And again, use your historical data, right? Whenever it does kind of this shape, this bull shape, it made money. This little bowl shape, it made money. So that's a really good sign. And then the vortex can't get much lower. So it means that there's green volume incoming. So overall, great setup. The EMA lines are respects to 200. That's going to be its first goal to beat. And once it breaks that, it'll try and break that 50. Once it breaks both, you get massive run-ups, right? Massive run-up, massive run-up. So that'll be your cue to really hold when it breaks those 2. But DIN is a great setup. So next is FUV, and as I mentioned when the video began, we find mid-cap technical stocks that are really, really solid, and you can see over here just how solid of a channel this was. And I mean, you could play this a bunch of times, and if you would have bought in again, you would have held knowing, and then you would have been like, oh, okay. Then again, you would have been probably a tad bit concerned over here, but again, you would have watched it, and then it would have taken off. So that's the whole goal, is you get in early. I mean, that's my whole entire thing. Over here, we have a trending line up. And again, you can't consider this a triangle yet until it does it 3 times. So once, twice, and if it does it again, that'd be dope. But again, it just tapped down on our channel. So I'd buy in today. Worst case, we sell at like $12.93 if it holds beneath it. And then you can probably buy in lower, maybe become a channel area. But again, if that breaks, you don't hold just because you think it's going to be okay. Like, no, you bought in because of the trend line. You're going to sell because of the trend line. So, looks pretty good. Support area right here as well. As you can see it, that right there, this whole area is supported, getting stopped, supporting this. So that's a really good look. And then again, it can run easily 25%. So 3 to 25 is a really good setup. It's also riding the volume line. It's trying to really hold above that. If that happens, that's going to be a great sign of strength. Let's check the indicators. So EMA lines look good. It's just, going back and forth between the 50 and bounces off of it. That'll be a first sign of strength. Once it breaks back above it and holds, we see some good run-ups when that happens. 39 RSIs, oversold technically, which was a little bit lower. But again, you got to put it in context. It is uptrending. So this whole entire uptrending area, it never really breaks below 37. So it being at 38, 39 is actually a good sign for this kind of thing. You got to put those things in context. Stochastic is low, of course. Makes a lot of sense. If we come over here, no divergences yet. Looks good. But again, if you go in the broad scheme of things, the vortex, green looks pretty overdone. I think it get a little bit lower. But the red is what we're looking at. When the red got this high over here, we saw a reversal. So I think it also over here. So I think that's a good sign for reversal coming. It's so much red. Again, it can't sustain that forever. It's trying to make a new channel up here like it did over here to take off again. FUV for the future, a great pickup. I think technically it's extremely sound. Next is GNK. Now, GNK is definitely an ascending triangle, and these are just beautiful. These are my favorite setups. They're so beautiful. I mean, it shows bullish tendencies the whole way up, and then it takes off. The thing with GNK is I do not know if, because it's technically downtrending, I do not know if this candle is going to come back and retest it and take off, or it's going to go back up. And I'd hate to miss this move. So we have a good 8% run, but then also a 8% drop. So a 1 to 2 is not a great setup. This is much more of like a, hey, put this on your radar, because I'd like for you guys to get in on this eventually. This is a very strong support area, and if it holds here and it comes back down at 7, I'd be comfortable buying in then. Even closer to 680 be great. But I mean, I'm not gonna buy it now unless it makes a huge move in the morning. If it says a lot of volume, I might buy into it. But with that being said, I mean, what a technical setup when it does drop back down. I didn't want you guys to miss this one. If you like it so much you want to buy in now, sure, I'm sure you'd make money on it. This may be a few weeks to maybe a month of holding if you really goof it up. Let's check the indicators. So, as expected, it respects the 200, but again, it does seem to really dip down with power when it has to, and so it holds the 200 right now. The 50, it bounces off of as well, so it respects both of them, but again, it looks like it's not as respective of them as just price action in general, so take them in consideration, but it's not a huge deal. RSI is fair, Stoch's fair, Vortex is fair, and again, it's in the middle of a channel, so I wouldn't buy it tomorrow. Let's just say huge moves. Maybe it's going to go up, tap one more time and come down. I'd love for that to happen. If it can get back in this channel, we're talking easily a 20% move. But let's just wait on it, see what it does. But again, GNK needs to be on your watch list. So next is HTHT. I've called this before. I'm very confident I called it somewhere over here, or it's over here. I forget. I can look. I'm still doing my journal. It's a fickle one, honestly. It's almost like a standard deviation chart in person, because you can take the channel and say, well, a lot of lines match up like that, a lot of lines match up like that, and a lot of lines match up like that. So where exactly is the chart supposed to go? I just put it in the middle. So you have a hunch here that this is not going to last forever. No stock just ascends for years like this, right? Now, I guess some do, technically, but I don't think many do. So this is the volume line. This is the 70% of volume area. It's testing that, and it's showing some strength. It's technically downtrending. It's pretty perfect peaks there. I mean, 3 lined up pretty well. And I'm sure if I drew a channel, these would line up probably. No, they wouldn't. Oh, okay. So actually those 2 would though. So technically it's still downtrending. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So this not hitting the bottom is a good sign of showing it's kind of curling off sooner and curtailing. Very similar to this side over here. So I think that this, if this support holds, 44 or 42, and that does line up with other action over here. If this does hold and it goes long, you're talking a really good 20% move. If it dies, you just sell it and you lost maybe 2%. Booey hoo hoo. And then if that happens, this channel's kind of done for until further notice. But again, it did this before, and it came back with massive strength. It's broken before and come back with strength, so I'm not too concerned. It's just a really good deal. I'm sure the indicators will say so as well. Haha, egg on my face. So it needs to break the 200 and the 50. That's going to be your signal to really go long when it breaks both of those. And again, I think it's getting pretty close to that. RSI is fair, but again, let's put it in context of this whole stock. I mean, it was, RSI was oversold here. Nothing really came out of it. And then, it's fair price over here. But I think the price action takes precedent. Stochastic's overdone, but again, that was a pretty big move up. I mean, from here to here was, 5%. So I think it has room to run up still. Vortex is still green. So, I mean, they are egg on my face. It's not really that good of technical setup. But price action wise, it's pretty good. So I like to see some good action come out of this. Let's give it a day or two, but HTHT, if it does live, is going to be a ripper for sure. Next is ITB. It's a really pretty one. So this is a triangle for sure. and I guess I mean, it technically still can be an ascending triangle. A lot of these peaks over here, and again, this is all perspective. I would consider this to be the peak. You know, it's coming up now and starting to tap it. But again, this is really, overdone. You love to see the triangle start from like here possibly, just because of this big move. And so this could be your triangle top right here. Triangle top's a good name for a band. This could be your triangle right here. See, doop, doop, doop. So that could be your ascending triangle. And again, that's just preference. I don't like such overdone moves into one, but it's obvious it's ascending in some way, shape, or form. Higher lows across the board. So anywhere from here down to about 54.25 is going to be your higher low buy-in. I think right here is probably the move. Easily going to make you 5 or 6% with higher lows here. And I mean, I could come over here and say, well, it's a little bit more of a stark downward, but again, any idiot can connect 2 points. So I would just say a little bit lower to kind of make it closer to 3 or 4 points. So be careful of that, but triangles lead to breakouts. So that's a really good technical setup for a breakout, hopefully higher. Let's check the indicators. They look good. So it's riding the 200. Right now it's above it. And it has a history of breaking it, so I wouldn't put too much emphasis on that. And it bounces off the 50, but again, it's below that. So it's in between two of them. And it does respect the 200. I mean, as you can see over here, it tapped it and lived. It tapped it close and lived. So tapped it, lived, died. So it does respect it, but again, it's just tapping there. 42 is, a fair price. It could get a little bit lower. Like get them farther in the channel, it'd be good. Stoch is saying it's good. SWINGCAST looks good. And then Vortex can't get too much lower from where it was, and the red can't get too much higher. So indicators look good. ITB, iShares Trust should be a good reversal and a good play for the future. So we've called LL twice now. We called it over here. That was a beautiful play. And we called it over here. And that also was a beautiful play. So do I think this is going to last forever? No, nothing lasts forever. But again, it tapped in, it came up, and it came back down. And again, it doesn't really do that. Usually it comes up and it taps in and takes off. Ooh, pardon me. But again, this is an old resistance becoming a support possibly. So it tapped that and live, and we want to see some life. So it could possibly drop a little bit farther, but again, we're talking 2%, so I wouldn't lose any sleep over that. And again, even if it all dies on you, you lose 4 or 5%. That's okay. But again, anyone who watches my channel knows I love Ascension. We just go long, and given this price action, it's a really good setup. Let's check the indicators. So they look good. It just bounces off the 200 when it does, and bounces off the 50. And again, it does break the 50 like a trampoline, and it comes back. So hopefully it's breaking it like a trampoline just to come back. We'll see. RSI of 42. It was just at 30. So RSI kicked in, some volume came in, and now it's kind of around 42. Vortex looks good. The green can't get too much lower than this. They can a little bit, and red can't get too much higher than this. So looks like a reversal is incoming given this price action. This channel's been hit once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. So it does have a history of living. LL is a great technical setup. Next is OKTA. OKTA is a real bastard, in my opinion, just because I bought it, where was it? I bought it right before this huge run-up. I bought it, I think, right over here. Yeah, I bought it, like, right in this area. And my stop loss was, like, over here, and it gapped down, and I got knocked out, like, right over here, like, 4.5%. And I was like, damn, man. And then, like, a week later, I checked, and it was, like on a tear, and I was like, I hate you more than I hate my life. So channel up. That's just a fun story about my life. Channel up over here. It's perfect. This dotted line is definitely the best value, but the solid line also is a great value. And it has, an easy 12%. Over here was an easy 14. And then over here was an easy 26. So we're talking double-digit returns in this area. And again, this is not going to last forever. It is the highest over here. It's $254. It's a little bit more expensive, but you kind of get better deals or better setups with more expensive stocks. So if it does live here, and that's, a little baby green boy, 1400, and the usual volume's 1 million, so I wouldn't get too excited about that. But again, it's showing good life. If it lives here and hits the top channel, 9%. So you're looking at a really good technical setup for a channel up. And this will break eventually. But again, these massive sell-offs do come on people's radars. They're going to chart this and be like, oh, it's a channel up. So let's see what the indicators look like. But it looks like a good technical setup. So it was bouncing off the 200 and then bouncing off the 50. And it looks like the 200 is pretty far away. So I wouldn't be shocked if it really did die down. But again, the RSI is oversold, and it does do that occasionally. It's at 33. It's pretty low. The stochastic can't get too much lower. And that's definitely a divergence, but it's definitely like a really long one. So like, and that's definitely, I mean, right there was a divergence. So I guess it technically has a small one, but I wouldn't put emphasis on that. And the green can't get too much lower. The red can't get too much higher. I think a reversal is definitely in the future. The question is it here? Is it going to be lower to the dotted line? Or is it going to be the 200? But a reversal is impending eventually. But OKTA needs to be on your radar for that exact reason. Next is SWN. Shout out to my boy Chris for accidentally finding this one. That's hysterical. And it happens all the time. You love it. Just a beautiful channel up, right? Boop, boop, boop. Now, you like it a lot. And again, you got to be a little bit wary of price action history. It did this over here. It sold off, came up, pulled back. It sold off, came up, pulled back. And then here's sold off, came up, pulled back. So we got to just hope that this pullback is what it looks like. And again, historically, it does break the channel once or twice. Over here, it didn't. So I wouldn't be too concerned if this goes back into the channel. That would be, that would be, a percent or two away. So I wouldn't be overly concerned if it does that. But again, you have plenty of room to run. If it does go up, easily 11, 13, maybe even if you get lucky, 25%. But again, it's running up really, really well. One thing to note, though, is that it started here. It went all the way up. So is this going to be the whole move, and now it's going to come back down, like it ran up over here and came down? Or is this going to be a whole new pattern itself and just channel its way up and break all the old history? So I think it's a good setup nonetheless because of the risk versus reward. You're risking 2 or 3, maybe 5% at most. In worst case, it really does break and come down even lower. And we get into this area over here. Then you just buy and make the money that you lost back plus more. Good setup. Let's check the indicators. It doesn't seem to have a high respect for EMA lines. It respects the 200 right over here. But over here, it doesn't seem to do much. It just seems to break it, kind of have a hard time. And then, as it gets to 200 with some 50 bounces. But just given the history, it doesn't seem to really respect that. RSI is 38, but again, on an uptrend, it really gets no lower than 33. And again, it was just at 33, right? It came down, did that, and now it's kind of pulling back, and it has a history of doing that. The stochastic's pulling back. That's a great sign. Vortex can't get much lower on the green. Red was overdone, and now it's kind of making headway back. So indicators look good. Price action looks good. As a setup, I like it a lot. Last but not least is VMW. And again, this is a simple channel play. You can see the setup of the volume indicator, volume profile indicator, gives us almost the exact setup that we need. I mean, honestly, the question is the support area of right about here, is this going to hold? Okay, is this going to hold and run up the 9% that I want to make? Or is it still technically downtrending? Right, it's still technically showing lower highs over here. And this thing has a history of consolidating. I mean, this was a 20-day period of doing this. And like over here, this was a 10-day period of doing this. So, this does have a history of kind of stagnating out. So that has happened. But again, anywhere around $136 to $137, $138, that's your buying area. And this takes off without you. again, just watch list it, right? So I want to see it pull back real quick. I want to see it pull back down to about 136, 137, even in a perfect world, 132. But again, you would have to sell and rebuy in. And then maybe if it really dies on us down here, 128, but I can't see that. It is showing, lower highs, lower, and it's showing higher lows. Is it technically a triangle? Yeah, maybe, but again, it's too early to tell. So just watch list it and we'll see what it does. But again, let's check the indicators. They look good. So it looks like it doesn't really have too much respect for EMA lines because it goes back so much back and forth. Now it's been respecting the 200 over here, trying to break above it. And the 50 is good for bounces. But again, this is just a channel play. It's pretty simple. And it's in the middle of the channel. So the RSI is like, well, I don't know which way it's going to go. So that seems fair. The stochastic again is overdone because of this big green move up here, and then the Vortex is at a fair price. So being in the middle of the channel, that kind of makes sense of why it's kind of in the middle. And then of course you can see the Vortex is really close to the point of control, being even on both sides, which again makes a lot of sense for volume. It's a volume indicator. So VMW. Worst case, you save it. You can put a price alert for down here, 137. When it breaks it, So VMW is a good setup for the future at least. And there you have it. Those are our 13 stocks for the day. All of them are great deals. These will be good for Monday, Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday for some of them. I'm sure a few will take off tomorrow. I'm sure a few will take off on Tuesday and a few on Wednesday. And when I mean take off, it can go either way. They may take on you. They may take off on you. And I'm sure also some may just consolidate on you. That's how it goes. But technically speaking, and we're technically meaning technical analysis, these are good setups. I expect you to do your own due diligence. I expect you to go do your own research and do this yourself. Use me as a guide, bounce questions off me, all that kind of good stuff. Use the watch lists, but do not buy blindly off what I say. That's a horrible practice. I would never encourage that. I don't encourage codependency. So I want you to use this, learn from it, and then eventually you can just use me as a watch list or just as a community member when I make my other services eventually. And then you can learn from me, bounce ideas off of me, and then make money your own way. I don't want you to be stuck with me forever. That's not really the goal. That's not healthy. With that being said, like, subscribe, bell notification, all that good stuff. Let me know. Comment anything you may need. And I'll see you guys tomorrow on Monday for another watch list. Appreciate you.